Quorum. This is Commissioner Lucarelli. Do we have a quorum?
I don't know. I can't see. Oh,
Got it.
is everyone here now? There are 8 commissioners. You want me to do a roll call? Is Carson
Here.
present?
I'm here.
Okay. Well, Commissioner Lucarelli.
Lucarelli.
Okay. Commissioner Judson.
Present.
Commissioner Corniotes. CC. Commissioner George.
Present.
Commissioner Pierotti.
Present.
Commissioner Weigel. Commissioner Marincic.
Present.
And I am Commissioner Pinckney.
I see Commissioner Weigel connecting.
Okay.
Okay. How many do we need for a quorum? I think we have it. We're just missing one now, Ms. CC. Okay. Well, I'm Commissioner Pinckney. For everyone who is here, we have just done a roll call, and I'd like to call this meeting to order. The first business, bear with me just for a moment. Opening my agenda. Okay. We have the quorum. Now I would like to ask for approval of the agenda. Are there any updates, changes? additional pieces?
I'd like to move to approve the agenda with 2 changes from what was in the draft. The first, the discussion of golden flower in the draft agenda was slated for 5 minutes, but I'd like to propose making it 10 minutes. And the alley discussion in new business erroneously didn't have a time limit proposed. Again, I'd like to propose 10 minutes.
You want to add 10 minutes, 15 minutes to the agenda?
That's right. Yep.
Okay. And then any discussion of what he's adding, requesting? Are there any other changes to the agenda? Hearing none, the agenda is approved. At this time, we will start with the nominations for our commission officers for 2023. I am now accepting nominations for the position of chair. Are there any nominations for the commission for the position of chair?
I'd like to nominate Commissioner Pirati.
Okay. Are there any other nominations for chair? Are there any nominations for chair? Hearing none, the slate will close on the said name, Pirati. Second position, the position of vice chair. I'm calling for nominations for the position of vice chair.
I'd like to nominate Commissioner Judson.
Okay, we've added Judson for vice chair. Any other nominations for vice chair? This is the final call for nominations for the position of vice chair. Hearing none, the slate is closed on the said name, for vice chair. The third position is a call for position of secretary.
I nominate Commissioner George.
I am asking for any other nominations for secretary. This is the final call for nominations for the secretary. Hearing none, the slate is closed on that said name. The final position available is the position of treasurer. I am opening the slate for position of treasurer. Are there any nominations? For the position of treasurer, are there any nominations for treasurer?
I'd like to nominate Commissioner Corniats.
Thank you.
Cornelius?
Yes, Corniotis, yes. thank you.
Cornelius.
Apologies.
Okay, here is the third and final call for nomination for treasurer. Hearing none, the slate will close on said name. The names on the slate: President Parati, Vice Chair, Chair Parati, Vice Chair Judson, Secretary George, Treasurer Garati.
Corniotis.
Corniotis. Thank you, baby. Corniotis. Thank you, Commissioner. Whereas the slate, all of the positions are clear and there are no oppositions to these names, I will entertain a motion to accept this nomination and elect these persons through unanimous consent.
So moved. Lucarelli.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
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 All right,
Aye.
for our record, we are going to go through a roll call vote.
Commissioner Pinckney, this is Commissioner Lucarelli. I wanted to raise something. Pursuant to Robert's rules, we'll need to formally vote to approve the agenda. So,
Yes, and that's what I was going to get to next.
got it. Okay.
We,
Just wanted to make sure.
yeah, yes. My role here today is just to facilitate the election.
Got it.
Once I'm finished, I will relinquish my chair to the chair, and then he will conduct the business of
Got
the
it.
day to include the official adjustment of the agenda.
Got
Thank
it.
you.
Got it. Thank you for
Take a
that.
roll call vote for our election. I'm starting with Anthony Parati. How do you vote?
Aye.
And this is, we're voting for unanimous acclamation of the slate. Okay, Commissioner Weigel. Clark. Okay, I'm looking for, okay, Commissioner George,
Yes.
you for that? You approve?
Sorry, I
I'm
approve. I
looking for
couldn't
the
unmute myself
ayes
fast enough. I'm an aye.
I'm
or
an
the
aye as
nay.
well.
This is Commissioner Weigel. Catching
Weigel.
up with time. Yep, I'm an aye.
Okay. All right, Commissioner Warrensick. Morisic, aye.
Aye.
Okay, you said aye.
Mhm.
All right. Commissioner CC Corniotes.
Aye.
Lucarelli.
Aye. Lucarelli.
Lucarelli. Commissioner Judson,
Aye.
thank you. And Commissioner Pinckney is an aye. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I present to you Commissioner Perotti is our commission chair. Commissioner Kate Judson is our vice chair. Commissioner Armand George is our secretary. And Commissioner CC Lucarelli is our treasurer.
Porteotis, but it's okay. Carson and I, well, we've merged our two names this evening.
Oh, okay. Well, by the next meeting, we'll all have it right. Okay. All right.
Sorry.
Now that we have our officers, I would officially like to close out the election portion of our meeting and relinquish the chair to our chair at this time.
Thank you, Commissioner Pinckney, and thank you very much for getting us started this evening. We very much appreciate it. Welcome, everybody, to the meeting of ANC 4D. It's great to have you all here tonight. For those of you who are coming to your first ANC meeting, welcome. For those of you who've been coming for many years, welcome back. As you can probably tell, we're actually all new. Every single commissioner here tonight is just starting out for the very first time. So we're working through some of the kinks and the process of actually getting into our correct positions. And so we very much appreciate your patience while we're learning the ropes and trying to work things out here tonight. So we have a pretty packed agenda. We'll try to get through it as quickly and as efficiently as possible. And we also want to give space for all of our neighbors who are here tonight to voice whatever issues on their mind so that we can talk through them together as a community. So very first thing we have to do is approve the agenda. I know that we just talked about it a few moments ago. We made a couple adjustments on time. Very quickly, I'll just do a quick roll call and you can just tell me whether or not you approve or don't approve of the agenda. So I'll just call on you in the order of your commissions, district numbers. Commissioner Pinckney.
Yes, here.
Commissioner Judson.
Here.
This is sorry to approve the agenda. Yeah.
Sure, yes.
Commissioner Lucarelli.
Sorry, I was on mute. So moved.
Commissioner Corniotis.
Approve.
Commissioner Morensic.
Aye.
Commissioner George.
Aye.
Commissioner Weigel.
Yep.
Thank you, and I approve as well. So with that, we'll get down to business. First thing we're going to do is introduce ourselves to all of you, because as I mentioned, we're all new. So we're going to take a few minutes and just tell us a little bit about ourselves, or tell you a little bit about ourselves. Since I have the floor, I'll just get started quickly. My name is Anthony Perotti. I represent 4D08, which is the easternmost corner of 4D. We're bounded by Missouri Avenue, 3rd Street, Farragut, and North Capitol. So if you live in that part of 4D, I'm your guy. I've lived in the neighborhood for about 10 years now. My contact information is included on the agenda, and it's on our website as well. So feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions or if there's anything that I can do to help you. So it's a pleasure to be here tonight, and glad to see you all here. I'm just going to call again on the commissioners in the order that their district starts. So we'll start with District 1, Commissioner Pinckney. If you'd like to say something about yourself. You're on mute, Commissioner Pinckney.
Can you hear me now?
We can.
Okay. My name is Joy Pinckney. I am commissioner for 4A01. I am new to this position. I am thoroughly excited about the possibilities, not just for me, but for the community and for all of us here at 4D. I think I said I'm a native Washingtonian. My primary goal is to be a very good resource for everyone and to find ways that all of 4D can work together on some serious issues that we all share across lines. And we're just open to you. And I hope to see and meet most of you certainly by the time the year ends. That's all.
Thank you, Commissioner Pinckney, and thank you once again for taking the lead on tonight's meeting and getting us started. We very much appreciate it. Commissioner Judson.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. My name is Kate Judson, and I am the Commissioner of 4D02. Commissioner George did drop in the chat the map. So if you want to take a look, but 4D02 is basically 3rd Street over on the east over to 7th. And then at the top to the north, it's Longfellow, and then over to Missouri, and then down south to Ingraham Street. So that's the area that I'm covering, and I'm really excited. I've lived in the neighborhood for about 10 years now, have twin boys who you may see me in the neighborhood running after, really care about being a good steward and working with my neighbors to make Brightwood Park an even better place to live. So thank you. I'm excited for tonight. Thanks for joining.
Commissioner Lucarelli.
Good evening. Before I start, Kate, would you mind if I share my screen? I just wanted to pull the map up just because the boundaries have changed.
Please go for it.
Come again? Sorry.
Oh, no, I was saying, yeah, please go ahead and share it. I don't know if I need to do anything, but if I do, let me know. But otherwise, the screen is all yours.
Yeah. Okay. So you've disabled sharing, but what I can do is I can just send it to you internally, and maybe we can pull it up. But at any rate, yeah. Good evening, everyone. My name is Carson Lucarelli. I live on Kennedy Street, and I represent 4D03. So that is the geographic area that is bounded by the center line of Georgia Avenue to the west, Hamilton Street to the south, 7th to the east. We have a little bit of Kennedy, and then it jogs up to Longfellow to define, the northernmost northeast corner. At any rate, I'm really excited to be here tonight, and I look forward to working with everyone.
Hey, I think I may have changed the settings. So if you do want to try sharing, let's see if it works.
Here we go. Yeah, this is actually a little different, but yeah, let's go ahead and proceed with 4D04. If the chair is so moved, and I'll try to get this going on the back end.
Thank you. Commissioner Cornelius.
Good evening. I represent 4D04. Most people call me Cece. I've lived in my home for over 10 years now. I'm also a foster mom to a 22-month-old, which keeps me quite busy. But I've worked with a lot of my neighbors through the years on different causes, etc. And I represent part of Georgia to the east, the south side of Hamilton, up to Decatur. And basically Carson and I, the original 4D04 has sort of been split in two. So he and I specifically will be working quite closely together, I hope. And I look forward, reach out to me anytime with any of your issues. And I look forward to doing what we can to improve whatever issues you may be having.
Commissioner Morensic.
Hello, everyone. I'm Stephen Morensic. I am the commissioner for 4D05. We are the commission that includes Rock Creek Cemetery. I joke that these will be our quietest constituents. Also, I'm on 4th Street. I've lived in this house. We bought our home in 2008, so about 15 years, a little over 15 years now. I work for DC government during the day. Our boundaries are 4th Street to the east, up to Farragut Street, the south side of Farragut Street to the north, all of New Hampshire, running all the way up over to Farragut Place Northwest, and we include the Hampshire Gardens Apartments complex.
Commissioner George.
Hi, my name is Aman George. I'm the commissioner for District 4D06, which begins in the southwest corner at Georgia and Allison Street, then heads east until Kansas, and then goes over east on Buchanan Street to 4th Street, which is the southeast corner, then up to Emerson and 4th Street at the northeast, and Decatur and Georgia at the northwest corner. So kind of a weirdly shaped district centered around Sherman Circle, which is where I live with my wife and my toddler. I'm really excited for the opportunity to work with you all and try and do what we can to solve problems and advocate for this neighborhood being as great as it can be.
Commissioner Weigel.
Thank you. Hi, I am the newly elected commissioner for Commission 4D07. Hopefully you guys have a chance to check out the map. 4D07 is a newly sliced pizza to pizza for 4D. I know we previously had 6 and now we have 8. It's right in the center of all the other SMDs, and it runs right along Kansas Avenue. So anybody who's driven north or south along Kansas, after you cross Sherman Circle, you might have noticed a lot of little triangle parks in quick sequence as you go through there. And the first 3 of those that cross on Kansas when you're going through are within 4D07. And so that's at Emerson right at the top of the hill. And then Ingraham right when you get to the really cool, like fancy new drainage triangle park that the city has put together. There's a really big one that's at Kansas and Gallatin. That's a good opportunity for our neighborhood to jump on early. Not trying to pander anything here. Just doing a quick introduction. And then my east and west boundaries are basically 3rd and 7th Street, but 4D07 is right in the middle of 4D and right along Kansas Avenue for other constituents that are here tonight and curious who your ANC rep is. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Weigel. Next up, we have approval of the December meeting minutes presented by Secretary George. Secretary George, anything special we should know about the December minutes?
There is nothing special that we should know about the December minutes. The draft minutes were prepared by the previous commission and have been up on the 4D website, which I linked earlier. I don't have any modifications to propose. I move that we finalize those minutes.
Are there any corrections, additions, emendations from any of the commissioners? Hearing none, are there any corrections, additions, emendations from the general public? Hearing none, the minutes are moved by unanimous consent into the record. Next up, we have a treasurer's report. So we'll turn it over to our new treasurer, Commissioner Corniotis.
Good evening again. Zach Israel, who was the prior commissioner for 4D04, did a very awesome job in this role, and I hope to continue that. Our treasury is quite healthy. It has a balance of close to $9,000. This evening, we're going to vote on participating in the security fund. And as the year goes on, we hope to continue what our predecessors did, which was give some funding for grants as we move forward throughout the year. And all of the paperwork, such as the quarterly report and everything, has been uploaded to the ANC site. So we are currently in compliance with everything from a treasurer's perspective.
Questions or discussions from any of the commissioners? Hearing none, questions or discussions from the general public?
I
So,
move,
yes,
I move the acceptance of the treasurer's report as presented, subject to audits.
Second,
we'll take a roll call vote. Commissioner Pinckney,
Aye.
Commissioner Judson,
Aye.
Commissioner Lucarelli.
Aye.
Commissioner Corniotis,
Aye. Sorry.
Commissioner Morensic,
aye.
Commissioner George,
Aye.
Commissioner Weigel,
Aye.
and I'm an aye as well. Commissioner Corniotis, do you want to talk about the security fund at all? Or are we ready to vote on that?
So the security fund is something that each ANC has to agree to participate in. It provides oversight against any fraudulent activities that may occur, and it protects our ANC from any of those ramifications. This year, the price to become a part of the security fund has increased from $25 per year to $50 per year, but our prior ANC commission did vote to approve that increase in terms of participating. And we, as I said, it's pretty consistent with the rest of the entire city's ANC commissioners.
Questions and discussion from any of the commissioners?
Yes, I have one question, sir. This is Commissioner Pinckney. Is my understanding that actually paying this is not really an option? It is a fee that all the commissions must pay. Am I correct?
That is
just-
correct, yes.
Okay, we just voting to take it out of the treasury.
Yes,
Okay, thank you.
we just have to vote on our quarterly financial report and participating in the ANC security fund. We don't necessarily have to vote to approve the monthly treasurer's report. I was
Okay.
just informed of that by my predecessor.
Thank you.
Questions or comments from the general public? So we'll move for a vote. And this is to approve $50 for the ANC Security Fund. Commissioner Pinckney,
I had to mute, sorry.
That's okay.
Aye.
Commissioner Judson,
Aye.
Commissioner Lucarelli,
Aye.
Commissioner Corniotis,
Aye.
Commissioner Morensic,
Aye.
Commissioner George,
Aye.
Commissioner Weigel,
Aye.
and I'm an aye too. Commissioner Cornelius, did we cover everything for you?
I just want to make sure that we voted to approve the quarterly financial report for FY 23 Q1. Is that what we voted on, or did we vote for the treasurer's monthly report, or both?
I thought we were voting for the quarterly one financial report, but am I mistaken about that?
No, you're
Okay.
correct. Okay. Just wanted to clarify for our secretary's purposes for the record.
Perfect, thank you. Next up on the agenda, the ANC has to set its meeting schedule for the upcoming year. So
with this insiders as we begin.
the previous commission had held ANC meetings on the third Wednesday of the month at 6:30 p.m. And the current commission is proposing to do the same thing, keep the same schedule. So we're proposing to have meetings on February 15th, March 15th, April 19th, May 17th, June 15th, July 19th, no meeting in August, September 20th, October 18th, November 15th, December 20th, and then January 18th of 2024. Is there any discussion or questions from any of the commissioners?
I motion that we accept those dates.
Second, Lucarelli.
We're ready for a vote then. Sorry to keep going through this, everybody, but hopefully we won't have as many of these sort of business agenda items to get through next time. Commissioner Pinckney, the motion is to accept the third Wednesday of the month for ANC meetings, public meetings.
Yes.
Commissioner Judson,
Yes.
Commissioner Lucarelli,
Yes.
Commissioner Corniotis,
Yes.
Commissioner Morensic,
Aye.
Commissioner George,
Aye.
Commissioner Weigel,
Yep.
and I'm an aye as well. The motion is approved. Next up, we have comments from those city officials who are here visiting with us this evening. I don't know if we have anyone from MPD. I think we had sent an invitation, but I can't remember whether anyone had accepted or not. Is anyone here this evening from MPD? Hearing no one. Is there anyone here from the mayor's office? I think I saw Sophia here earlier.
For those of you who I have not had the pleasure of meeting, my name's Sophia Tacola and I'm the new Ward 4 MOCR. And basically what that means, MOCR stands for Mayor's Office of Community Relations and Services. There should be an S at the end of that. And I work with the mayor being a liaison. So whenever you guys need additional support or help and you're trying to get the mayor's attention on something, that's when you reach out to me. And my phone number, it's public information. I can also drop it in the chat. You are more than welcome to call me, text me, email me, anytime you need me. And then another thing that we do is we go out to rapids. So for example, some of the rapids I've had in Ward 4, we have had, unfortunately, a few homicides so far since starting in this position, as well as a few shootings and a couple fires. And so when something like that happens, no matter the time or day, I drop everything and go there and report about what's happening and make sure everybody in the community is getting the support they need, and also being a liaison with the mayor so she knows what's going on and whether or not she needs to have an emergency press conference like the one we had last week when the one adult and 2 individuals got shot. So that's like a brief overview of some of the things I do. And also I help get attention out. For example, something in Ward 4 that I'm sure everyone's aware of, not all the leaves are getting picked up, which can add to a lot of issues. And so I've been getting on some of the organizations in charge of the leaf picking up in DPW to make sure that they're like, okay, the mayor's eyes are on this. And so people need to step up to the plate. So that's some of the things I do, and I'm feel free to answer any questions. I see a question from Mr. Clark.
Yeah, I was just going to say a crazy example of leaf collection. So a constituent I was speaking with today, the leaves weren't collected along Ingraham between 4th and 5th, right? And it happens to be a low point within SMD 4D07. And during torrential downpours, during just, you know, I'm not saying it is global warming, but right during torrential downpours, right, they didn't have one of their drains cleared of leaves, and it ended up to their cars being flooded. So people came out of the front of their houses and their water's up to their knees along that particular block because it's just a low point in our very hilly neighborhood. So like leaf collection being small issue leads to a whole block having to replace their cars and make an insurance claim. So it's one of those big things that can compound quickly.
Absolutely. And then where did you say that was at?
So that was the 400 block of Ingraham. This is an old issue that happened a few years ago. This is not a recent thing, but I met with a constituent.
A lot of rain.
Yeah. So this is something, I think it occurred probably 3 years ago. But their alley has since been replaced and they're trying to improve the drainage. And this particular person was just concerned about the back end work on the alley. But it was a result of that catastrophic event. And it really could have been prevented with proper leaf cleanup.
Exactly. Thank you for that.
Yep.
Commissioner Carson?
Hi, Sophia. Nice to meet you, albeit virtually. I'm Commissioner Lucarelli. I'm with 4003. I wanted to ask you if you could provide us with an update on the Deputy Mayor for Public Safety and Justice's office in their work on Kennedy Street. The foregoing ANC 4D had reached out in March of last year to Safe DC about what was then recent gun violence on Kennedy and Jefferson. And so I wanted to reach out on the behalf of my colleagues to get an update on that. There was a list of action items that were created with 4 action items specifically addressing nuisance properties, making it harder to engage in risky behavior, creating alternative pathways for people who congregate, and then inquiries into creating barriers such as a residential parking permit application scenario. So I just wanted to get an update on that because for the reasons you've mentioned, our district is acutely interested in understanding what safety is doing.
Absolutely. And I love that you brought that up. If hopefully all the commissioners should have received an email or gotten calls from me, and I'll keep going down the list. If you see my phone number pop up, I will be calling everybody to talk about. We have a Saturday meeting coming up specifically to talk about public safety. And so the mayor will be there, the mayor of justice will be there, or deputy mayor of justice will be there. Every single person who has a role and a hand to play in public safety, talking about their plan, talking about the things they are putting in place as of going forward. They're all going to be there. And so I know personally right now, I can understand I've gotten some feedback saying like, hey, this was last minute, which makes sense. Like someone mentioned they were a foster mom. I used to be a foster mom. So I can only imagine having a child, getting care for your loved ones. That's hard to do. So something I'm personally working on is bringing attention to our upper management about different virtual options for people. Right now, I have not heard back, but it is something that I know that I am trying my best to make sure that we have other opportunities because not everybody is able to be in person and we are still in a time of COVID. But all of those questions you had will be answered on Saturday.
Great. And so for the record, that meeting is taking place this Saturday?
Yes, correct.
I think, yeah, I definitely, my hope and desire is to attend that, because, someone is not muted right now and it's creating a lot of background noise. I don't know if we have the ability to mute folks who aren't speaking, but at any rate, yeah, I just want to make sure that our district, is being considered because these were things that were raised, back in March. So, with that, I yield back and I look forward to working with you over the next 2 years, perhaps longer.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Commissioner Aman.
You're on mute.
Oh, apologies. Thanks. Thanks so much for joining us. I appreciate it. And I wanted to echo Commissioner Lucarelli's point. I think many ANCs around the city are interested to hear what the mayor's kind of big picture thoughts about public safety going forward are. But I think Commissioner Lucarelli was raising, there was a public safety meeting in our commission last spring where a number of agencies and the commission discussed specific steps that they were planning on taking, in the Kennedy Street corridor. So it's not like citywide policies that I'm sure the mayor will be addressing, but actual specific steps like, on those few blocks. So what would be great and I know Commissioner Israel had asked about this in November, to the extent that you all are able to provide any updates on those specific projects that were committed to last spring. I think, the new commission would really appreciate getting a sense of where those stand.
Yeah, thank you for going into detail with that. So I know some of you might know this, but I don't know if everybody does. I'm still new. This is my 3rd week on the job. So some of the things that happened in the past, I did not know about it, but I will make sure that I am aware of it and then go back and figure out and understand what happened on the Kennedy Street corridor and the projects coming from it. And I will get back to you on that.
That'd be great. And I think any of us would be happy to pass along some of the things that were discussed at the time too, so you know what we're talking about.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Commissioner Joy?
Hello, good evening. Glad you made it. I'm not going to echo what's already been said, but I do want to emphasize being at that meeting on Saturday would have been really good for me, and I'm sure especially the commissioners who share Kennedy Street with my constituents. But it's extended also to further than that, because now it's becoming a broader known issue, even just about going and standing at a bus stop on Georgia Avenue. You know, I have people coming out of my building, and we're a senior building, who have to go up to Georgia to go to work. And people are fearful. We have people lurking, you know, in between these buildings that are still construction sites, hitting people over the head. It's escalating to more than just the regulars who want to disperse their drugs, etc. It's a unique problem to what's happening on Kennedy Street. And right now, it's no longer enough that the police just have their cars down the street. We need to have a conversation about what we're really going to do that includes the community. And when I got the notice about the meeting on Saturday, it was this week. And then I was asked to get feedback from my constituents when it just wasn't enough time. And it sends the message that it's really not that important to really get true feedback from the community when it's last minute, you know, including the invitation to the press conference, you know. And I know some things happen so fast, but I was wondering maybe if you could put on the agenda to have some type of action plan or something for how we're going to work toward making this different, you know. And there's got to be some win-wins in here for everybody, but we can't get to that without real thought. So if you could put that on your agenda when you speak to her, that would be appreciated.
Absolutely. And because I'm new, I know that Kennedy Street in Georgia have been the biggest places of gun violence. Are there any other ones that you've seen specifically in 4D that should be up on the agenda as well?
Are you speaking to me or any of us?
Anyone, of just because I feel like sometimes we'll focus on those areas that always have the issues, but not necessarily think about the one neighborhood who is still having issues, but it might not be up at the forefront. I just want to make sure that no neighborhoods are being left out of the conversation.
Okay, yes, ma'am.
This is Commissioner Lucarelli. I mean, I'm happy to start that. Within 4003, specifically our district, I would say it's sort of, there's sort of a triumvirate of streets, Kennedy, Longfellow, and Jefferson, where there appears to be sporadic and sometimes recidivist gun violence that occurs, you know, on a monthly basis. So I would look, the intersections that were noted, of course, that was very astute, but it kind of pervades along these corridors. And so yeah, I think if we were to just look at those specific intersections and not, the corridors at length, we would be slightly remiss. So
Mhm.
with that, I yield back because I can't speak for any other SMDs with that degree of
Thank
knowledge. Thanks.
Can I suggest, Sophie, since this is a topic that's pretty important to our community, can I suggest that we as a commission consider putting together a subcommittee that specifically focuses on crime and public safety issues in 4D? And this is something that we can consider next month in our February meeting. And if we were to put together a subcommittee with other members of the community, is that something that you or someone from your office would be able to participate in, or at least be involved into sort of at the end of our conversations or throughout our discussion? I think that would be meaningful for us, but I'm not sure if you have the bandwidth to do something like that.
I am very passionate and here like 100%. That's just the type of person I am. So if you need me at a meeting, I will be at it. I can't always stay for the full meeting, but I will try my best. So if there is a meeting, I will make sure I am trying my hardest to be there.
So let me just suggest then that our next meeting in February, that this is something that we talk about, a possible subcommittee that focuses on public safety issues. Are there any questions from the general public for Sophia? Keep in mind that we'll also have an open forum for people to talk about general issues, but are there any specific questions for Sophia while she's here?
Yes, I have one.
Yes, please, ma'am.
Yes, my name is Laverne Gooding Jones, and I live at 6 and Jefferson. I believe my commissioner is Judson. Is that correct? Yes. And one of the biggest things that weighs into what's going on around the corner is these cars that are parked on our streets. And the parking enforcement doesn't come around much. We've had this trouble for a long time. And something needs to be stopped. There are cars sometimes out here with no tags. They don't have the permit that they're supposed to have. I don't see any parking enforcement. It's like when we go from, what is it, October to March, we don't have to move our cars, but we still should be seeing parking enforcement. So I'm asking you to get the mayor to get on the Department of Transportation in reference to that, because it shouldn't be where we have to call to make a complaint before the parking enforcers come out. It should be regularly, especially because we live around the corner from Fifth Street. These people will park around on our blocks to go do what they want to do around the corner because they can't really do that on Kennedy Street. So that's one of the things that I would ask that you, Ms. Sophia, check into with the mayor.
Absolutely. I can definitely look into that for sure.
Thank
Thank
you.
you for bringing that to my attention.
Commissioner Judson?
Yeah, I was curious. Sophia, first, thanks so much for coming tonight. Congrats on your new position as a MOCR. Really excited to be working together with you in this capacity. I'm curious for the violence interrupters that are dedicated to Kennedy Street. Do you have any information on when they when they work and how often are they walking the streets, and any information on that? Because I know I've heard a lot about them, but I don't personally have a lot of details and would love to learn more.
Yeah, so they have what's called the building blocks. So basically, there are certain areas throughout DC that are focused on the communities that have a lot more work to do in protecting the neighbors living in them. I'm not sure about their schedule, but I know personally, because I'm still also trying to get to meet them, I'm setting up a lot of meetings with them as well, because when shootings are happening, they are supposed to be there. Also glad to see your face, because we were about to have our one-on-one when the last homicide happened, or not homicide, shooting happened. So glad to see you.
Likewise, thank you for being here.
Thank you for your grace, and something some of the commissioners know is we've had a couple one-on-ones, but as soon as we get that rapid call, we have to leave automatically. So thank you, Commissioner Judson, on your just grace and flexibility with that.
I think it's important. I don't know if this has been brought up, but I mean, obviously, gun violence and public safety is of utmost concern for all of us. But there's also other types of crime that has sort of been pretty consistent, at least within my single member district when it comes to vandalizing cars, some like vandalization of property, etc. And I know that as a community, we are sort of pushing for those types of crimes to also be addressed.
Thank you, Commissioner. Any other specific questions for Sophia from the public? Thank you for coming, Sophia, and I think we're all looking forward to working with you. So again, congratulations on the new position.
Of course, and thank you all. I can't wait to meet more of you in person.
Thank you, and we'll keep you posted on a public safety subcommittee if we end up putting one together. I think we also have representatives from Council Member Louis George's office.
Yes. Hi, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes, thank you.
My name is Eskadar Gurmash. I'm a constituent services coordinator for the council member. Congratulations to all the new commissioners. We're very excited to work with you and continue to serve constituents in 4D. I'd like to introduce someone who's new to our team, Barbara Rogers. She will be our Community Engagement Director. I believe she's on the call. She will be taking over my role and representing the office in ANC meetings. I will still be a point of contact for any constituent services needs, but Barbara, if you want to introduce yourself real quick.
Hello, Commission 4D. My name is Barbara Rogers. I am actually a former ANC Commissioner, 2 terms for 4B08. And again, this is my second week with the council member. I am excited to continue to be of service to all of Ward 4, including my community. So I will put my contact information in the chat. I'm always available and here to help in any capacity. So thank you all so much for having us.
Thank you both for coming and welcome and congratulations, Barbara, on the new position. We're looking forward to working with you.
Thank you.
Are there any questions or comments from any of the commissioners, specifically for Congress or Council Member Louis George's representatives?
I did have some updates I wanted to share before taking questions, if that's okay. And yes, just wanted to welcome Barbara. We're really excited to have her. She's been a great leader in the community and excited to introduce you all to her as well. But just some updates as we've started our new council session. As you may know, Council Member Louis George is now the chair of the Facilities and Family Services Committee. This has oversight over DGS, which is the agency that manages maintenance of our public schools and also recreation centers. This committee also has oversight over the Department of Buildings, which was part of DCRA formerly, as well as the Child and Family Services Agency and Department of Disability Services. So if you all have any constituent needs that fall under these agencies, I know the council member is very dedicated to improving conditions in our public schools. So please flag that to me or Barbara or any other members of our team. Also want to note that we just received schedule yesterday for upcoming budget and oversight hearings. During these meetings, we really want to get input from community members and you all as well, ANC commissioners, about what you want to be improved from the council, what problems you have been facing with agency responsiveness or lack thereof. I'll be putting in information on how to sign up to testify at such hearings, as well as the schedule in the chat. And please feel free again to let us know of any questions you have in getting acquainted with that process. I also want to note that our office will be hosting a series of Listen as We Climb sessions this month and going into early February. These sessions will be an opportunity for community members to come and give us some insight on what you would like the office to be focusing on, both legislatively and community, like in terms of community meetings, in terms of what is happening like directly on the ground outside of the Wilson building. And we have a series of these in each neighborhood across the ward. Happy to drop details on those. The first one will be tomorrow, covering the Shepherd Park community. Lastly, as always, if you are not signed up to our Ward 4 newsletter, I'll put a link to sign up for that. This provides weekly updates on what is happening with the council, as well as what community happenings are throughout Ward 4 and throughout the district. And happy to take any questions or anything you would like to flag for the council member or any of us on the team. And thank you for the time.
Questions or comments from any of the commissioners? Questions or comments then from the general public?
Actually, I have one quick question. I'm sorry. In terms of Council Member George's new role, providing oversight for CFSA, what does that entail exactly? And given my current role as a foster parent, I'm interested in potentially, having a discussion with her or you about things that I've experienced in my 16 months of doing this now.
Yes, so I'd love to put you in touch with Will Perkins. He was our previous Deputy Chief of Staff and is now the director of the committee. But essentially, I guess in terms of foster parents specifically, she will have oversight of how agencies like Child Protective Services, Child and Family Services Agency is run. When things go wrong, what we can do at the council to use our oversight powers to improve conditions for both children, parents, and families. So happy to set up a meeting with me, with Will, and take in the input that you've had directly with these issues.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
Any questions or comments from the general public? Hearing none, thank you both so much for coming tonight. We really appreciate it, and we look forward to seeing you at future meetings. We invited a representative from Board of Education to come tonight to provide any updates or answer questions, but no one was able to attend. So hopefully some meeting in the future, a representative will be there. Next up, are there any announcements from any commissioners? Hearing none. Next, please, Commissioner Pinckney.
Yes, hi. Just want to remind people, the lottery for the schools, it's open still. There are a lot of links that I'll send to the secretary to put on the website of some reminders for deadlines that are coming up in the next several months. And the public needs to really, if they have children or if they're senior or if you're just a regular working person, There are a lot of good opportunities to apply for classes, etc. There are also, if you know people who need to be been waiting on waiting lists for housing, waiting lists that have been closed for years have now opened up, and they have been opening up brand new waiting lists, and especially lists for Section 8 housing. So just be on the lookout. I'm working on a Facebook commissioner page, and so the links will be out there so you can not miss anything. That's all.
Thank you, Commissioner Pinckney. Any other announcements from any other commissioners? With that said, we will open up to community comments. So this is an opportunity for the general public to ask questions or provide feedback or comments on anything that's going on in the neighborhood. Are there any comments or questions from anyone in the community?
Okay, hold on. Hold up. Can you hear me?
Yep, we can hear you now.
Oh, okay. I'm the owner of 441 Kennedy Street Kitchen, aka Golden, or doing business as Golden Flower.
Oh, yes, we have you on the agenda, actually. So if you'd like to just hold tight for just a moment, we'll get to you.
Okay, no problem.
Any other community comments?
I have a comment.
Please.
My name's Nancy Roth, and forgive me for arriving late to this, and I hope I'm not repeating anything that's been said earlier. Is the commission aware of the work being done by the DC Public Libraries in allocating resources for an additional library in Ward 4? Because there's a very big amount of controversy about this in Shepherd Park. Our neighbors in Shepherd Park are concerned that their library is going to be closed and are very vocally opposing that. The reason DCPL was advanced that idea was to instead open a library in our neighborhood, Brightwood Park. So I don't know what to think about the Shepherd Park Library, but if you'll excuse me for mentioning this, I did serve on the commission a few years ago for a couple of terms, and the commission obviously has changed a great deal since then and has expanded. But at that time, a very key characteristic of the area was the lack of public space and public programming. And a library might offer, for example, after-school activities for kids. The one in Petworth does, and it's very crowded. And we need that for our youth. And I think that, well, let's just say I want our commissioners and our residents to be aware that this question is being discussed and to have a voice in it, because it affects us. It affects us as a community having a library here. It would serve Brightwood Park and Manor Park, which have been identified as underserved areas by DCPL. And I believe that's an accurate assessment. And I don't want us to pit ourselves against our Shepherd Park neighbors, but they do have the Tacoma Library. So I just wanted to raise and ask if anybody's been interested or following this past year. Most of you are new, so I don't know if you're tracking these things.
Well, Thank you for bringing it up, Ms. Roth. In the chat, Commissioner Israel posted a resolution that was passed by the ANC last year that was
Good.
urging DC Public Library to allocate funds for a new library in our neighborhood.
Okay.
I don't know if any of the commissioners or if any of the representatives from either the mayor's office or council member George's office have any updates on that information, though.
Ms. Roth, I have been following the saga on the Shepherd Park listserv, which is always an interesting place to get news and community comment from listservs. But so I am aware of the issue. Yeah.
Okay. All right. I'm extremely pleased that a resolution has already been put out. There is a survey that DCPL has issued for residents. And I think our residents should be encouraged to participate in it. The survey identifies a third option, which is a library at Walter Reed Center, as opposed to Shepherd Park or here. And I don't know how I feel about that. I just feel like it's so urgent that we get space in our neighborhood, public space. Are you aware of this survey? This new survey that's come out?
No.
I was not aware of it. I'm not sure if others are, but thank you for
No.
bringing it to our attention. We can certainly try and distribute that survey to our constituents in our neighborhood to get as much public feedback as possible. So thank you for bringing that to us. And it looks like Commissioner Israel just posted it in the chat, so everyone here has access to it.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Roth. I see a hand raised for Ms. Baker.
Hi there. Yeah. So I've already been in contact with my local rep, but I do want to just raise an issue that I've been experiencing lately. So back in August, I imagine it's DC's DOT, but they came to essentially install the semi-permeable asphalt, the alternative into our back alley and also along the alley of along 5th Street. I'm on that 400 block of Ingraham that also so conveniently has had so many water issues and so many cars flooding, including mine so many years ago. The issue arose after that construction was completed, after that semi-permeable pavement was installed. It happened that in the alley, we happen to be the only house where there's a small lip of concrete that leads up to the semi-permeable pavement, which was not in existence when we purchased our house and was also not filled in by the city. So now that this construction has been completed, I am no longer able to pull my car in because of the sort of grade differential between this new installation and where the ground is in my backyard. And so I've contacted the city. They told me that there would be a 1-year wait time to begin to address the issue, let alone have a construction crew out. So I just would like to, raise the issue here, make sure that we're continuing the conversation so that that can be addressed in a much more expedient fashion.
Thank you, Ms. Baker. I just flagging this, I know we had an email exchange about this, but just for the representatives from the mayor's office and for council member George's office, is there, does anyone have any suggestions for what the best way for Ms. Baker to proceed?
Yeah, this is Commissioner Pinckney. I spoke to Ms. Baker today and connected her just like you did, because you answered her. Yeah, and I called her. I think her person was also doing some fact finding about this issue. The main thing I shared with her was maybe we could present something to the mayor's office that would suggest a process improvement for when they make improvements in a community, to also come back out and review or check to make sure that the scope of work has been completed before they sign it off. And in a lot of different situations that's not happening, or, the water department really doesn't, something happens. And I personally just think it's not reasonable that a year has to go by to finish something that was already started. So I don't know. I told her, like you said, we don't have the juice, so to speak, to make somebody do something. But I really believe that in her case, we need to actively work on correcting this or helping her to contact somebody who can make it happen. That's my 2 cents.
Absolutely. And this is Sophia Tacola calling again from the mayor's office. If I could be forwarded on those emails, that's definitely something I want to be a part of and make sure that this conversation keeps rolling, because like Commissioner Joy said, it should not take a year. However, once again, I am new, and so maybe it does, but I just don't think that's right in my personal opinion. So I would definitely love to be a part of that conversation to get that ball rolling, because it's a very unfortunate thing, and I'm so sorry to hear that.
And Ms. Baker, I'm not sure if you saw the message in the chat about Councilmember George's oversight work, but I know that you expressed part of your concern was sort of systemic issues with our neighborhood, and sort of equity across the city and how different neighborhoods are treated. And I'm sure that your testimony would be welcome at any of those hearings to talk about that specific issue. So thank you for bringing that up.
Thank you.
Commissioner Lucarelli?
Hi, Chair. Thank you. Yeah, I just wanted to just the gentlelady that spoke prior to Ms. Baker about public space, and just remind folks in 4D, particularly our district 4003, which is that there's the opportunity for funds to be allocated for the Triangle Park that is across from Truesdale Elementary. And so sorry, let me backtrack. This is within regards to the comments specifically about needing more equitable and usable public spaces within 4D. The previous commission did a lot of legwork to petition DPR for funds to improve that Triangle Park across from Truesdale Elementary, where they recently closed that slip lane on 9th Street in between Illinois and the cross street. And so please be on the lookout, for more updates on that. I think it's something that I'm excited to work on, and it's a rare opportunity to improve one of our greatest public assets, which is, public right of way, which often is underutilized. So it's obviously not a library, and I certainly understand the sentiments for wanting, civic institutions like that in 4D, but just keep your eyes peeled for the Triangle Park in 4003, because there may be some exciting things happening in the next couple of years. With that, I yield back.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions from the general public? Hearing none, we'll move on to the next item, which is an application for a tavern license for Golden Flower. And so Commissioner Judson, we'll turn this over to you to lead the conversation.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. So I'm really excited that Ms. Williams is here this evening. She is the owner of Golden Flower Bakery, which is coming in at 5th and Kennedy Streets Northwest. It's basically the northeast corner of that intersection. She has been doing a lot of work in the space to build out a beautiful bakery. The kitchen is phenomenal. I got a chance to tour it just a few days ago. And then there is a space in the basement of the building as well that will be used for private events and for dining. So she has put a lot of time and energy and thought into this new business. She has been open for a bit. So some of you here on this call this evening may have had the opportunity to try some of her baked goods. I know I have. But she is applying for her business for an alcohol license, for a tavern license, so that she is able to sell alcohol from her establishment. I am going to turn it over to Ms. Williams to talk more about her business model. And I want this to be an opportunity for folks from the neighborhood to ask her questions about her new business and the alcohol license that she is applying for. So with that, Nisha, I will turn it over to you. You may be on mute still.
Hello?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay.
You're good.
Okay. Hi, everyone. I'm Naisha Williams, the owner of Golden Flower Bakery Cafe. And in general, my business model is I'm a scratch-made baker. So everything is scratch-made, and we try to locally source organic and natural. And all of our items are made, from locally sourced ingredients, organic and natural, whenever possible. My focus is definitely on community and education. I'm big on those two things. So I want the destination or my location, my business, to really be a place where people can basically commune, create, and drink coffee and eat a piece of cake. Coffee, commune, cake, and create, because I definitely believe in creativity. So with that being said, one of the things when I originally went in on this venture and decided to come to the neighborhood and be an owner in the neighborhood was definitely to bring fresh food options to the neighborhood and educate the importance of having fresh food, as well as education in general, because I think it's a good way of bringing community, is just educating each one and one another's about different cultures, food, everything. And I'm probably babbling a little bit, but one of the things that I think in bringing cultures together is through food, because it's one similarity that everyone has is that we have to eat. So over food, you're able to get a better sense of community. And that's pretty much where I had that. So that's my premise. And I've always wanted to have my kitchen as a fully fledged commercial kitchen. So also on my original business plan, when I built out this space, was to have it as a place for those who are up and coming food entrepreneurs that don't have the resources to really be at a taste lab or a union kitchen, that if they, needed a licensed commercial space, that they're able to utilize my space in order to prep for like maybe a wedding if they had a one-off occasion, or dinner, as well as to teach culinary arts, and as well as food safety to the community. So that's where I came, where I come from, and that's the premise. And it's morphed into a bit more, because originally it was just going to be a production kitchen, and one that I opened up to other food entrepreneurs, and maybe one-off like pop-ups, into seeing that the need that more people wanted to be able to come in and actually sit in to enjoy the space. So that's what had propelled me to go ahead and finish out my basement. So therefore people can actually not just pick up or just through mail order, because originally that's what I wanted, just through mail order, and just have it open for limited engagements. So yes, that's where it came from. I decided to build out the basement to invite people into my space on a daily basis versus when I want to. And I guess a brief on the menu is that since I'm opening up, it's going to be more of a cafe. So it's going to be fresh fruit smoothies, as well as fresh pressed juices, along with a light fare of like vegan and gluten-free options on a daily basis. And then on the weekend, it's possibly, a brunch and one day, but it may expand to 2 days. But all day we serve fresh fruit smoothies, fresh pressed juices, and light fare, and coffee and tea.
Thank you so much. If I could just jump in really quickly, I forgot to include some of the details before I introduced you. So it is a new Class C tavern. with a seating capacity of 25, total occupancy load of 25, and then a sidewalk cafe for 10 seats. The hours of operation indoors would be Sunday to Thursday, 11 a.m. to 2 a.m. That would be like the full hours of operation as part of this tavern, a retail Class C tavern license application that would go forward through ABRA. And Friday and Saturday, 11 a.m. to 3 a.m. Hours of sale service indoors, Sunday to Thursday, 10 a.m. to 2 a.m., Friday and Saturday, 10 a.m. to 3 a.m. The protest petition deadline is February 6th. The roll call hearing date is February 27th. And then the protest hearing date is April 26, 2023. Thank you.
I see a question from Commissioner Lucarelli.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Yes, good evening. Nisha, Ms. Williams, I've heard a lot about this business. I read the article that the DC has put out. I think it's a really great, compelling story, and I'm happy that you have chosen 4D, particularly Kennedy Street. It's one of the reasons I moved to Kennedy Street was because of the entrepreneurial spirit that exists along the corridor. And so I applaud your efforts. I do have a couple of questions, though, if you don't mind. I really appreciate the concept, for what it's worth. I worked in the restaurant industry for more than 10 years, and it's what I did in grad and undergrad to pay the bills. And, at times I deeply miss it, but my back does not. You mentioned the concept, and I appreciate that, but the reason that you're coming before us today is because there's an alcoholic beverage request, and I didn't really hear any mention of how that component integrates into your concept. And so while I'm not necessarily indicating that I'm opposed, I just wanted to hear a little bit more about that, and specifically why, for instance, you need till 3 a.m. Is that because of a matter of flexibility, or I'd like to know a little bit more about how the ABRA component integrates into the program, the floor plan that you've described.
Okay, one, I do have TV set up because I'm a sports enthusiast. And one of the things that I found out when the World Cup was in effect, that people would like to drink beer. So it's an option a lot of times when they're watching sports, not necessarily all the time, but people like the alcoholic beverage. Also, I do pizzas on my menu, and just hearing from other people who have supported me over the years that pizza and wine is something that is enjoyed. And then when my consults and people that have actually supported me in the neighborhood as well as outside neighborhood, that if they wanted to come for a brunch, that definitely they would like a glass of wine or possibly a mimosa or alcohol basically with their meal. So that's where the push basically came from, was through my current clients, that I was like, oh, okay, that makes sense. I'm not opposed to that. As far as the hours, it's a matter of flexibility.
Got it.
That's not I am a baker, so I get up very early in the morning. So there would be very few times that I'd probably be open to that hour. But if it was a special occasion, there was if someone wanted to rent the place out for New Year's, or if for the Super Bowl, not late, but a special event. But it's not something that as far as my business model that every day that is occurring, but it's for the flexibility and fairness of other businesses with alcohol licenses.
I got it. So yeah, you essentially just want to have, you want to have the ability to be a comprehensive restaurant. And that I totally get that. I have a little bit more of a technical question, and it's related to the occupancy, because 25 is, there's more people in this hearing than there are what the building is permitted by the fire marshal. So I'm just curious, because I don't have a floor plan, how many points of ingress and egress are there in the building?
Egress.
Sorry.
Well, there's one. Well, there's actually three. There's 2 points of egress.
Okay.
There's 2 doors.
Got it. Okay.
They're both in the same area. That's why I said 1 point at first.
Okay, so the only way in and out is off of Kennedy, or is there egress into the alley?
No, the alley has been blocked off due to the building that was put up in back. So one is I guess they're both on Kennedy, but one's to the side and the other one's straight to Kennedy.
Okay. And do you imagine that you'll have it, I don't know what these measures would look like, but I mean, how do you anticipate to enforce occupancy? There have been several notable fires on Kennedy Street, one which took, the life of two people a couple of years ago. And I'm not insinuating that it was tied to occupancy, but, all I'm indicating is that, the danger is real. And, we had a fire a couple of weeks ago over Christmas on Jefferson or Longfellow Street. So I just wanted to hear you touch base on that. And that's my last question.
The door will be managed. So when it reaches capacity, there will be no one in, but it's at all times, it's going to be managed.
Got it. Okay. Well, that sounds like the perfect answer. Thank you.
Commissioner George.
Thanks. I just wanted to follow up briefly on Commissioner Lucarelli's question and your answer, Ms. Williams. I understand now that the hours you're proposing were for flexibility. What are the normal hours where you expect on a regular basis to be open and serving alcohol?
Well, probably not until 11 o'clock during the week, and then probably 11 to 7, because I'm going to open at 6 a.m. But I'm a bakery that serves coffee, so I'll be open at 6 a.m. But alcohol wouldn't be served until 11. And so
what time do you close?
Time when the hours are, the daytime is going to be between 6 and 7. In the summertime, it'll probably go until about 8:30, 9 o'clock. So I have summertime hours. Basically, when the days get longer, between June and August, it'll probably be until 9, and then the rest of the, September through the end of May, probably until 7.
Gotcha. Okay. So to clarify, so normal hours would be opening at 6 a.m., closing at 7 p.m. During like winter, and closing at 9 p.m. during summer.
Right.
And then you expect alcohol service wouldn't start until around 11 a.m. you said?
Yes. And then on Saturdays and Sundays, one of those days, I probably, unless the business pushes it for both days, but I haven't decided what day will be closed. But if it's Sunday we're closed, but it'll be open. But I'm going to be opening for I like to support local businesses, so I will be open for local businesses to do their own pop-ups, sell oils, what do you call it, CMOS, health things that go into what I promote. But as far as me trading, and probably on Saturdays, it'd be from 6 or 7 in the morning to 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And then it will be open for, like I said, I will rent my establishment for people who like to have birthday parties, or they have the paints and sips, or some people want to have children, different events. So, 3 times out the week, it could be rented out to, people who like to have a small private affair that, wouldn't be more than 15 people or 10 people, highly regulated.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions from Ms. Williams, from commissioners or general public? Thank you, Ms. Williams, for coming tonight.
Okay.
We appreciate it. I noticed that Mr. Russell is here from Mariachi. Just a quick kind of change the agenda, or at least throwing this out there. If there are no objections from any of the commissioners, if you recall at the December meeting, or maybe it was the November meeting, Mariachi had applied for an Abra liquor license, and there was some question about the hours of operation. At the time, the commissioners had questions, but there was no representative who was able to attend the meeting. I see that Mr. Russell is here tonight. It's not on the agenda, so we don't have the opportunity to have a full and lengthy discussion.
Sure.
But if any of the commissioners have any specific questions, now might be a good time to bring them up.
Well, I did attend, this is Commissioner Cornelius, I did attend the roll call hearing. But at the time, I believe Mr. Russell is having some technical issues, so he joined after I had already been told that I could sign off. And so that's where sort of the disconnect lies, in the sense that we're still waiting to hear from Abra about
next steps regarding a potential settlement agreement, et cetera. But that's where we are, from my understanding.
Yeah, this is Commissioner Lucarelli, because this request is in our district. And Commissioner Corniotis, thank you for attending that roll call hearing. I had a conflict at my job. Yeah, and just to give Mr. Russell an update, I have actually reached out to Abra tonight. The woman's name is Sarah Fashbaugh, and want to get next steps from her. But because I didn't have the privilege of attending either of those hearings, while you're here, I would like to ask why you're asking for such late hours. I'm not aware of any other locations along the street that are open till that late, and I think I'll start with that question, and then I may have some others.
I have an opportunity to talk to you something. This is Z. Russell.
Oh, I'm sorry. Excuse me. I have unreadiness. For those of us who don't know which business you're speaking of or when you're for the first time, can you tell us what it is we're talking about?
Yeah, maybe state the address, please.
Address is 5217 Georgia Avenue. That is Mariachi Grill and Bar, and also Tex-Mex, Mexican Tex-Mex. So it's really renovated, 3 floors, 65 seating capacity, and it's really renovated. It's a nice neighborhood store, and I think people like that at that place. And I think alcohol hours 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. Only Friday, Saturday 4 a.m. until we just apply for that.
Yeah, so this is Commissioner Lucarelli again. Can you tell us a little bit more though about why you need till 4 a.m.? Again, I'm not indicating a yay or nay on a vote per se, but I just want to hear more, sort of like the line of questioning I was asking the gentlelady who spoke before you regarding her request. I want to understand how these hours relate to what's going on there, and particularly so that the public is aware, because we have a bunch of people on this call.
Sure. Right now, like also a lot of call from late night call, delivery call from Grab and DoorDash. So hotel, and this is like commercial, a lot of tourism area. So hotel, they ask like delivery stuffs, food. So that reason we open until 4 a.m. Friday, Saturday.
Okay, and so the ABRA permit permits on and off sales of alcohol. I'm just not.
We apply for like 11 a.m. to 3 a.m. Monday to Sunday, and Fridays and Saturday 4 a.m. 11 a.m. to 4 a.m.
Can I ask a question, Mr. Russell? Because this was where the point of confusion was. Just to underscore Commissioner Lucarelli's point, there are no other businesses that, as far as I know, that are open till those hours in that area, especially businesses that have live music. And I think that was part of the application material. So the question I think that all of us have is that that's a residential neighborhood. And so is your intent that there will be customers there until 4 a.m. With live music, or is this simply a delivery service where you'll be cooking till 4 a.m. and delivering the food elsewhere?
Simple delivery, if you want, we can close like 3 a.m. alcohol, that is no problems. But we apply for until 4 a.m. only for Saturday, Sunday.
So could you clarify for us then what the hours are that you're intending to keep? That would be helpful for us to know.
Sure, definitely. 11 a.m. to 3 a.m. Mostly.
All 7 days a week?
Yes, but we apply for Friday and Saturday 4 a.m. But we like to change also until earlier and 3 a.m. We just change our mind. I think that is issue for the DNC and others, so neighborhoods. So we are like open to close 3 a.m.
Yeah, I think this is where the settlement agreement becomes more prudent, because and I'm not insinuating anything here, but there have been issues in the past with businesses operating, beyond the legal threshold, particularly within our district 4003.
Yeah.
And, it's created considerable nuisance for the neighbors, for obvious reasons. And so I just want to make sure that everyone's interests are being upheld here, particularly because of this, because of the business's location to Georgia and Hamilton, which, is sort of an ongoing matter of, public safety and nuisance. So I just want to make sure that, we get this in writing with the settlement agreement, and that way, we can hold the owner's feet to the fire if, things don't go, pursuant to that agreement. So that's all I have for now.
Sure, definitely. I agree with you. And if you like settlement at 3 a.m., we're going to agree also. You send us later, we can go from there.
I mean, nightlife is very important, and the city has a mayor's office for that, and there's a time, there's certain places where it's conducive, but on this street, I think 4 a.m. is just, I'm not seeing the justification or the nexus, and so I appreciate you willing to work with us on some more reasonable hours. And
thank you so much, you too, and all yous. And I think it's like I understand now, like 3 a.m. is good time for us also. Thank you.
Yeah. So, in closing, I will be in touch as soon as I hear back from Sarah F. CC and or I, will reach out to you, to begin this settlement, so that we can get, that document inked and, move on to, bigger and better things. So thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, sir.
Another comment from Commissioner Pinckney, and then after that, my suggestion is that since none of us was really prepared to discuss this tonight, that we shelve the conversation until Commissioner Lucarelli and Commissioner Corniotis have a chance to talk to Mr. Russell and get this formally on the agenda with materials that we can review beforehand. But Commissioner Pinckney for the last word.
Yes, my last word. What S&D, what 4D areas?
3.
03?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and was there a community count or weigh-in for the times? Because I know there was another business in a similarly placed where even 3 o'clock was too late because of how that community felt. So do you think also we can be privy to the community's response to these times and the options?
I agree with what the chair has proposed, and I think that can be bundled into part of our research. So, rather than sort of shooting from the hip or doing it ad hoc, I can include that as part of my research. If the matter was discussed in November, sorry, my camera's not on. If the matter was discussed in November and December, which I believe it was, there should be some record of that. And so I'll look into those notes and, if need be, reach out to the former commission. But I do remember, some of the things that you're saying. And so, I'm not in any way tethering myself to any hours right now, but, I did want to ask the question, and it sounds like we'll have a formal discussion on this in the future with those.
Yeah, well, I was at both of those meetings, and I do remember having this conversation, but I'm not sure I'm not confusing it with another one. So yes, thank you very much.
Yeah, I will forward everything to, our commission so that we can discuss further.
Thanks to you all.
Thank you, Susie.
Next up, we have Commissioner George about renaming an alley.
Yes, that's right. We also have on the line Andrew Lynn, who is the developer who is spearheading this project. There are 2 vacant parcels of land located in the alley between Georgia Avenue, Crittenden, Buchanan, and 9th Street Northwest. There's a proposed project to develop those 2 lots with new single-family homes that Mr. Lynn could speak more about. And kind of one step in that process is actually giving that alley a formal name. And in order to do that, I think Mr. Lin is seeking community input on potential names for the alley and I will turn it over to him to give more detail. And I'm excited for the opportunity for our community to participate and hopefully propose a name that our neighborhood is proud of and happy with.
Thank you very much. Hi, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Can you hear me? Okay, great. Thank you. Thanks for your time tonight. My name is Andrew Lin. I'm an architect and I teach at Virginia Tech and the University of Maryland. I live in an alley house with my wife and son near Congressional Cemetery, and my office is located at the foot of the Frederick Douglass House in Anacostia. My team focuses on bringing neglected alley lots back to life with small conscientious developments. We're looking to develop 2 single-family houses on the 2 lots in the block between Crittenden, Georgia, Buchanan, and 9th Street. And I can pull up a map in a second when I'm done speaking to show you exactly where that is. We won't be seeking any exemptions from the zoning requirements, and for alley houses, those are quite strict. There's 20-foot height limits and other restrictions that we will be abiding by. But as part of the process, the alley needs to be named. And this can often be a more enduring legacy of these developments than even the buildings themselves. So we think it's important to get these names really right. 2 of our past projects have required naming alleys. Oh, sorry.
Russell, please mute.
So 2 of our past projects have also required naming alleys, and we named both after significant deceased DC-based artists, one Adelaide Johnson and the other Lois Mailou Jones. Based on our past guidelines of the person being honored with the name being a woman and DC-based and an artist that makes significant art about social issues of our time. We have a couple of suggestions for names, but these are sort of DC names, and we're soliciting suggestions from you all, thinking that you may have names that are more meaningful to the local community. So I will add my email address and phone number in here. The commissioner will have my email address and phone number. We are also going to put a solicitation for names in Councilmember Louis George's newsletter. And I hope that we can get some feedback. So if anyone has any questions, I'm happy to answer. And I will also pull up right now the map that shows exactly where we are talking about. So, could someone please enable screen sharing?
Yeah, I will do my best.
Thank you.
Sure.
Mr. Chair, while Mr. Lin is pulling this up, may I ask the speaker a question?
Please.
Sure. Mr. Lin, thank you for that brief preamble. As a professionally trained urban planner and who's someone who does that in their day life, I appreciate this. I just approved 6 private street names myself the other week. I was wondering if you could just for the public's benefit and perhaps this body's, if you could explain why it's important that that a name is picked. We know what the answer is. It's pretty obvious. And then also, if you could speak to any street naming regulation guidelines, whether it's an ordinance or a city policy, on what names are and aren't acceptable. In every jurisdiction that I've worked in, that I've worked on street name changes, there are certain names which can and can't be used. I'm not familiar with what those guardrails are within District of Columbia, but I would like to hear you speak a little bit more on that. And I'm saying this so that when you open up, the invitation for the public to submit options, that way they, at least for those who are on this call, they're a little bit more informed about what they can and can't pick. So with that, I appreciate your feedback. Thanks.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks. So as I mentioned, I live in an alley house right now. It's important to name the alleys so that the alleys can have basic day-to-day services like receiving mail, having trash and recycle being picked up. but it's also helpful in the sort of larger picture. Someone earlier in this meeting was discussing some maintenance issues that are taking place or are hoped to be taking place in their alley. We've found that once now an alley is named and sort of inserted into the city database, those services are a lot easier to get to the alley. And the process of inserting the alley into all these different databases takes time. So we found that the sooner we can get them named, the better. We had some fireworks set some trash cans on fire last 4th of July, and the alley was named. It was pretty easy to call services. The fire department came in and put the fire out pretty quickly. So those are the sort of day-to-day reasons for naming an alley. It used to be necessary in order to proceed with an alley development. Now we're able to proceed with the development sort of in parallel to the naming process. But as I mentioned at the beginning of my presentation, I'm an architect. I've studied very old buildings. I know that sometimes these buildings come and go. There have been plenty of alley homes in DC's alleys that have been demolished and the names remain. So choosing a name that represents and honors someone who has made a significant contribution to the district, we feel is important. As far as actual formal guidelines for the names, we have been told that the person needs to be deceased, but beyond that, it seems that it's a matter of community input. We know that in other neighborhoods, people have proposed more generic names like Lincoln Court or something like that. And typically there's a preference to honor someone who has a very specific relationship to the neighborhood in the area, which is why even though we're proposing some options as Howard University, for Howard University, former Howard University art professors, we were hoping that we could get a few more options of people who spent time living in this neighborhood and contributing to its well-being. So the only real requirement I've ever heard of is that the person that's being honored needs to be deceased.
Got it. Well, that makes sense. I mean, someone's legacy is kind of already written at that point, and so you know, versus someone who we could name the street after, and then the next day, you know, they're on the 5 o'clock news for X, Y, or Z. So at any rate, I appreciate that, and we look forward to working with you. Thanks.
Commissioner George.
Yeah, I have two quick questions for you, Andrew. Well, one quick, one less quick. So first, could you also just quickly describe the process for naming the alley? My understanding is it's ultimately a vote of the city council, if that's right. And then secondly, one of the residents in this district and on the alley asked if you could talk a little bit about the project itself. So if you could describe kind of more of the vision of what will be built, as well as you know, any benefits that you think will come from developing those lots, and how you plan to engage with the neighbors to try and minimize the disruption that, you know, I think is inherent to any building project going forward. I'm sure they would appreciate the opportunity to hear some of those answers. And for the other residents, please feel free to chime in with other questions. Somebody asked, how was the community informed about the development, which I think is now.
Yeah, so we're coming to you now, informing you that we're getting started on the development process. We haven't started the design process, and we haven't submitted any drawings. I think the commissioner posted some flyers last week or something, but that was the first notice that was given. We have owned the property for a little less than a year, and we've done 2 large cleanups with dumpsters or pickup trucks, and have been informed recently that there is now more trash on the lot. So we will get on that immediately. and we'll stay on that as frequently as is necessary during this process. And we would very much appreciate any notice that you guys could give us if you see anything that's there. As I said, I live over by Congressional Cemetery, but we would love to get the lots cleaned up. And the only way to really prevent illegal dumping on alley lots is ultimately to build on them. Even tall fences that render the lots useless, trash gets thrown over them. So we see the alley house development process as providing much needed housing for the district, while also sort of healing these basically open wounds on the block. The alley naming process, as was mentioned, ultimately requires a vote by the council, and the legislation is crafted and put forth by, in our case, Councilmember Louis George's office, only once it has the support of the local ANC and the ANC's constituents. So eventually, once a name is sort of whittled down, and I hope we have a few different options, we'll go around the block and ask for support. We sort of get a vote from each property owner that's adjacent to the alley. And as you can see in this instance, every property owner on the block is adjacent to part of the alley. The entire H that you see in pink is part of this alley, and the entire H will be named, which is a little confusing because there's 4 entrances that have the same name, but ultimately it's a great thing that this alley does have 4 entrances. It makes construction much easier. We're working on a project now that only has 2 entrances, and if one is blocked for construction, it's kind of difficult to maneuver into the other. So this is a pretty roomy alley, 4 entrances, right off a major corridor, so we don't have to have construction trucks sort of working their way through residential neighborhoods. The alley developments themselves, there'll be 2 single-family homes, like I said, capped at 20-foot height maximum. The architecture that our office does is healthy, sensitive, sustainable. The house that I live in was actually just published in Dwell magazine this month. So if you go to their website, you'll see a DC alley home on the dwell.com website. That isn't to say that these new homes will look like that home, but that gives you a little bit of a taste for our preferences for natural materials, for healthy spaces, for sustainable construction. I'll be the point person for the project from beginning to end. So if you have any questions or concerns, you'll have my phone number and my email address. And I look forward to working with you. So I'm happy to answer any other questions that anyone has tonight.
Mr. Lynn, this is Carson Lucrelli again. Would you, if you haven't already done so, would you mind dropping that info into the chat? I think that'd be helpful for folks on the call. And I just wanted to clarify one thing, for the public, is that, we're not here to debate on the merits of the building. We're really just here to talk about the street name. And so I just want to make sure, everyone is aware of that. And could you just clarify whether or not this is a by right development? Because that might explain why, more notice wasn't given. It's my understanding that it is, but do you need BZA relief here, or?
We don't. This is a by right project. We're not seeking any relief of any kind. We have to abide by the standard alley development regulations. But as far as we understand, DC zoning and the mayor's office are very supportive of finding opportunities for alley housing when possible. So it's a by right project. And we, rather than selecting a name that we thought might be applicable for the alley naming, we wanted to speak with you all before that process even begins and see if we could find any better names.
I think it's great. I mean, I'm a huge fan of laneway homes. We obviously haven't built enough homes over the last number of decades. So, the only way we can solve this, this shortage is to build more. And so I look forward to it. And we'll just remind everyone on the call, to just remember that, the focus here is really the street name. And that's something that, as the speaker noted, it will outlive these homes. And so that's why that's why it's so important. So I appreciate you coming to speak with us and clarifying all those things. Thanks.
Thank you.
Mr. Lynn, I have a question. Do you currently live in an alley home, or are you in the process of developing them? It seems as though some attendees in this meeting have some concerns, and thus I request some clarification.
Yeah, I live in an alley house currently. So we completed it in August of 2022, and my wife and son moved in with me, and we moved from an apartment in River Park. We now live in Adelaide Alley, and we are enjoying it, and our neighbors enjoy not having vacant cars and garbage left in the alley.
A question from Mr. Amin.
Thank you. I love this idea. I just wanted to ask, I've never seen one. If I wanted to, could I walk after the alley home is built? Could I walk from Crittenden to Buchanan through the alley after construction is completed?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, one of the benefits of alley developments that we've seen with ours and with other developments in Capitol Hill is that alleys that were previously only used by cars and trash trucks are suddenly used by kids, and there's kids at play signs in all of them. So you'll be able to walk through this alley, and if you're interested in seeing some that are already completed and have people living in them, then there are 4 or 5 alleys over near Congressional Cemetery that have alley houses in them. And if you are further interested and you shoot me an email, I'd be happy to send you exactly where those alleys are.
A question or comment from Ms. Tekola.
Hello. I was wondering, are you wanting people in this chat right now to speak freely if they have an idea of another name, or is it something that you are wanting them to email you about?
If someone would like to propose one now, that'd be great. But I was also hoping to get a few emails. And if we do get a few suggestions, we will include them. If we don't, we will craft our own list, and we'll put that list out to the community as well. So we're not gonna take suggestions and then just select one. We're taking suggestions so that we can have a sort of finalist list that we can send back out to the community and get further input.
Awesome. And then along with that, would you like us to encourage community members to reach out to you if they have additional questions about whether or not, when it comes to alley homes, that people who are low income have an opportunity to move in? What is a way that we can recommend our neighbors reaching out to you?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, my email and phone number has been posted in the message board, and I'm happy to send it out with any other calls for name solicitations or anything else. I want to make sure that I'm accessible to people throughout the process. These houses will be market rate, so we won't be applying for affordable housing tax credits. But I'm happy to answer any questions that people have throughout the process.
Thank you.
Question or comment from Mr., forgive me if I'm mispronouncing your name, Croach?
Hi, thanks. Yeah, this is Adam Kretsch. Yeah, I was curious. I'm the owner of one of the 4 properties that abut the proposed development at 904 Crittenden. And just curious about what, you mentioned there would be future opportunities to discuss kind of impacts to the block of the construction. And I think I'm curious, specifically about the immediate impacts of the development right along my property line. There's a big, beautiful elm tree in my backyard that I love that I want to see if we can keep alive, things like that. But then also kind of construction noise. I've got a newborn here at home, and I'm going to be sleep training them probably while you're doing this construction, and just getting a little anxious about what's, this is much bigger than a little row home renovation, which is what I'm used to, which is the noise I'm used to hearing in our alley. So curious about kind of construction hours, development time. I also was curious whether I took a peek at your website and I saw some diagrams on this website, which I just posted in the chat. Curious whether this represents your proposed plan that you intend to submit to DC. This is under the third, I think it was the third one at 38 degrees, 56 minutes north, 77 degrees, 1 minute west.
Yeah, so that is a sort of massing model of what's possible there. We will be working with the permitting office, and we'll further sort of flesh out the design. We also work closely with our contractors to make sure that what we design is possible to build. As far as construction goes, we abide by the Department of Building regulations for times and days that construction is possible, but we're also happy to work with you and to be considerate of your needs. You're adjacent to this property, so your tree will absolutely be saved. DC Department of Energy and the Environment is very strict about maintaining the integrity of critical root zones for heritage trees. And we like to see all trees near our construction survive. So we'll be very sensitive to your trees, and the permitting process is also sensitive to and aware of your trees. And as far as sort of construction goes, we will keep in touch with you. As I said, we haven't finished designing, so we haven't submitted for permits yet, but you'll know when we submit for permits, you'll know when we receive permits, you'll know when we intend to begin construction, which is still months off. So my son is a year old. I recognize that it can be difficult, and we don't want to inconvenience you any more than is absolutely necessary. So I'm happy to be in touch with you as much as is necessary for you to make sure your baby is sleeping well.
All right. Well, thank you. I look forward to being in touch.
Great.
And let's have Commissioner Pinckney ask the last question on the topic.
Okay. I want to understand clearly. So when you erect these homes, the alley homes, is that because there is available lot space from the space that where people already own their backyards? Or is this space for another living situation being acquired through eminent domain, or is this just extra space that's been found at the alleys? That's my first question.
Yeah, so these are vacant alley lots. There are dozens and dozens throughout the city. Some of them used to have stick frame housing on them and were cleared during the 1940s or something, but there are two vacant lots in the alley that can both support single family houses.
Okay, and the other question, early on when you started, you said that your construction, you all were going to adhere to the requirements for building these houses to the letter, and because the requirements were very strict. So does that mean that you all don't, because you're applying based on the requirements, do you still have to come before the neighborhood to get approval for what it is you're building, like the dimensions, et cetera, or it's just done because it's just done?
It's just done. In historic districts, we would need to go before the Historic Preservation Review Board, but this is a by right development situation. So we're able to submit for permits and have the permits approved without meetings like these.
Okay, so as a neighbor was just on the call, if you want to build something that, let's say, blocks someone's view or something, you don't have to submit anything that needs to be, let the community know what's going up because of how you're doing it.
That's correct. These lots shouldn't be blocking anyone's light, but we aren't required to seek community approval for these.
Interesting, okay.
So, Mr. Lin, thank you for joining us. So just to summarize summarize one point and then raise a potential question. The summarizing part is you need from us ideas for alleys, or the names of alley. And it sounds like the best way that we should do that is send those to you by email. Do you have a particular date by which you would like those suggestions from the community?
Within a month would be great, but no sooner than a month is necessary.
Great, thank you. And the other thing that I'll just raise quickly is that it sounds like there are some concerns from people who live on the block and live in the neighborhood about how the construction might affect them. And can we ask, I know that you don't need our permission for anything, but can we ask that you work with the community, especially Commissioner George, who oversees this part of ANCD, to kind of communicate with the neighbors about what's going to be happening and when, so that they're not caught off guard by construction or processes as you go through this?
100%. That communication makes it easier for you all, and it makes it easier for us as well.
That would be great. Thank you. So that is the last item on our agenda for the evening. With that said, I move to adjourn.
I second.
Great. Are there any objections to adjournment? Then with unanimous consent, we will adjourn. Thank you all for joining us this evening. We really appreciate your input. Again, our next meeting will be on the 3rd Wednesday of February, and hope to see many of you there. So thank you all, and hope you all have a good evening.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Take care, everyone.
Night.
Good night.